you are sitting at home one night with nothing to do and your parents are gone and no one is around. All of a sudden, you hear a loud noise and you hear a crash downstairs. So you put your ear to the door and you hear two men come into your room. What are you going to do? You aren't going to confront them by yourself against two men. So you just sit in your room and hope they go away. Now, if you had a firearm in your house, things would be a little different. You could pull it out and dare them to stay any longer. I guarantee they would leave if they thought they were going to be shot. Now we will get to some facts to back up what I'm saying. 39% of felons aborted a crime due to the victim being armed. 74% say they avoided dwellings altogether if they felt that they might be shot. One of the major arguments against the theory that gun control would save lives is that although 2/3 of all homicides are committed with firearms, firearm controls would have no effect on homicide because human nature is what it is. Even if guns disappeared from the crime scene altogether, criminals would replace them with knives, clubs, axes, or even their fists. Guns don't kill people, people kill people. Stated simply, these crimes occur because some people have come to hate others and they will continue to in one form or another. Now let's get to some myths about gun control. Many gun owners agree that those who are promoting gun control are misinformed. One of those myths is the only purpose of a handgun is to kill people. An estimated 75 to 80 million privately owned handguns are used mainly for hunting, target shooting, protection of families, and other legitimate and lawful purposes. All of those who own guns for these reasons have the support of the National Rifle Association, more commonly known as the NRA. The NRA is composed mainly of hunters, gun owners, and sport enthusiasts who firmly believe that every American has the constitutional right to own a firearm guaranteed by the Second Amendment. 3.5 million members include women and non-gun owners. Another myth is that the majority of Americans favor strict new additional federal gun controls. Scientific polls indicate that most people oppose the costly restrictions of firearms. Americans individually, as armed citizens, are the best deterrent to violent criminal attacks. It has been said that 81% of 1,800 criminals agreed that a smart criminal would attempt to find out if the potential victim is armed. Yet another myth is gun control reduces crime. The National Institute of Justice concluded that over 20,000 gun control laws had zero impact in reducing criminal violence. A nationwide study found that violent crime decreased after states made it legal to carry concealed handguns. Also resulting in homicide decreasing by 8.5%, rape falling to 5%, and aggravated assault dropped by 7%. Example, in the District of Columbia in 1970, they had a fairly low crime rate. But since then, it has risen dramatically to become one of the highest in the nation. One of the main problems interfering with the exception of gun control is that criminals do not acquire their guns legally, so gun control would accomplish nothing. The phrase gun control can mean many things. It can be a ban on specific or all types of weapons. It can be regulations prohibiting certain or all citizens from owning guns. Regardless of what form it takes, gun control in the U.S. takes away your constitutional right to own guns, the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution. The Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution states that a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. To infringe means to encroach upon in a way that violates the law or the rights of another, which is exactly what gun control does. The Second Amendment would not have survived all these years if it was not valuable and a key amendment to the Constitution. May I point out its value by referencing a place and time when people did not have the right to bear arms due to gun control. In Germany, total gun control was established in 1938. From 1939 to 1945, about 13 million people, unable to defend themselves against the Nazis, were killed in the Holocaust. Throughout history, there are many other examples of this. Every genocide has been preceded by gun control. By establishing continually more restrictive gun control, the people of the United States may be launching themselves toward a similar fate. May I also stress that when gun control is implemented, the only people who lose their right to keep and bear arms are the law-abiding citizens. Going back to what I said earlier, criminals are just that, criminals. They do not obey the law and would certainly not obey gun control laws. So logically, if totally restrictive gun control laws were established, the only people with guns would be criminals. This certainly does not paint a nice mental image. I would like to quote Senator John McCain. We have a responsibility to ensure that criminals who violate the law are prosecuted to the fullest rather than restricting the rights of law-abiding citizens. Gun control is a proven failure in fighting crime. Law-abiding citizens should not be asked to give up their rights because of criminals who ignore gun control laws anyways. Is it fair that you and I, as American citizens, should have to give up our rights to own guns and use them to defend ourselves, merely because other people do not have enough morals or integrity to follow the law? Some of you may be thinking that regardless of laws permitting or prohibiting guns, crimes involving guns still happen. And yes, they do. It's an awful thing. But realistically, there is no way we can ever completely rid the world of crime. So we do our best. While we may not be able to prevent crime, we can certainly fight it. Enlisting responsible gun owners to help can be part of that fight. Here's an example when such a gun owner saved many lives. On December 17th, 1991, in Anniston, Alabama, a man named Thomas Glenn Terry was enjoying dinner with his wife at a local restaurant. There were about 20 customers and employees in the restaurant at the time. 3 men burst in, and after collecting everyone's wallets and jewelry, they began herding everyone into a walk-in cooler. Terry was attempting to escape out of a back door, but the gunman discovered him. And because he had a gun, Terry was able to shoot the gunman and the second and the third. If Terry hadn't had a gun, everyone in the restaurant would most likely have been killed. As I mentioned earlier, the issue of gun control affects each of your rights as a citizen of the United States. If guns are taken away, people will still find a way to kill each other or themselves if that is their intent. The first written record of murder is found in the Bible in the book of Genesis, where Cain killed Abel. People have been killing each other since the beginning of time when there were no guns. People will find a way to kill with or without them. Guns are not the problem. In fact, they can help save lives. According to the Department of Justice statistics, guns save an average of 557 lives a day, but we never hear about that on the news. The mainstream media tends to be biased against firearms and firearm owners. While you can be sure to hear about every single misuse of a firearm, it's very rare to hear stories about law-abiding gun owners using their guns in self-defense. Yes, guns are dangerous, but danger is a part of life. Rather than taking guns away from law-abiding citizens and making them victims of crime, guns should be allowed for self-defense as well as sporting purposes. That way we will all be safer. Remember, a gun is an inanimate object. It cannot think or act by itself. It's only when a criminal or such an immoral person decides to use a gun unlawfully does it become dangerous. I think we all can agree that violence is awful and is out of control. But making more gun laws only makes it harder for you and I to protect ourselves. They don't keep criminals from having guns or reduce crime. I chose this somewhat sensitive subject because it is something that I firmly believe in. Some of you may be wondering why you should even care about this. But I know that personally I care about this because as an American citizen, it is my constitutional right to own and operate a firearm, and I will be exercising that right for my next birthday by getting my concealed carry permit. Thomas Jefferson, a man considered to be a great leader, once said, "What country can preserve its liberties if its rulers are not warned from time to time that the people preserve the spirit of resistance? Let them take arms." If we allow gun control laws, are we not giving up the right that the Second Amendment guarantees us? In conclusion, gun control laws are not a wise solution for the United States. First, we need to crack down on criminals, not law-abiding citizens, because it is not the guns that are doing the killing, but the people. Second, If guns are restricted, then a major form of self-defense is taken away. Third, the gun control laws that are being instituted make it easier for criminals to slip through the cracks and obtain guns. How can a system that has this many holes really work? By no means is gun control a good solution for our country. Thank you.
Silence.